Man, I feel absolutely bad for all those streamers that just signed exclusivity contracts with Twitch. Oof! Either way, welcome back, everybody. If you haven't been keeping track of what's happening on there in the past couple of days, I honestly, I don't blame you. There's been so much random crap going on that's kind of hard to keep track of here. I mean, originally I was keeping track of all this random interpersonal drama with streamers trying to cover up an essay accusation here, which has been interesting to say the least. And then on top of that, then they go over here and start banning gambling after a response of, I think it was Slicker, who was having a public meltdown about his gambling addiction. So then, yay, they did that, but then they kind of had to undermine it with the little caveat actually saying that poker and sports gambling is still allowed for whatever reason. But hey, a win's a win, so why not celebrate that? But then, oh no, Twitch comes out of here with the left freaking hook right to my face. There's this random Garbaggio explaining their financial changes they're implementing to Twitch. Now, come over and follow me on Twitter, by the way, too. We can post and talk about this all the time. We don't have to wait a video about that. How exciting. But what they actually talk about here is a couple of things. So first and foremost, the thing that's actually kind of interesting is that for rich streamers here, those who earn in excess of $100,000 USD from premium subscriptions, such as the Tier 1 through Tier 3 or Amazon Prime, now instead of getting a 70-30 split where they keep 70% of the revenue generated from that, and the Amazon/Twitch take 30%, they've adjusted that now to a 50-50 after $100,000. So prior to that, it's 70-30. After that, it's 50-50, which, bit interesting. Out of all times when revenue has gone up considerably, viewership has gone up considerably, ad rates have increased considerably, and yet you are deciding to reduce the amount of income that your streamers are making. And this is all while a bunch of people have also been signing exclusivity contracts with competing platforms such as Facebook and YouTube. Okay, questionable decision there, but considering Twitch's marketplace dominance, their absolute huge market share of the Twitch streaming space or the gaming streaming space, I can kind of see why they want to get away with this. But also we'll talk about that a little bit later on too. The thing that's also kind of irritating people here now is that they've basically said, why not the 70-30 split here? And as they explain here, for one, they try to hand wave it by saying, oh, well, you actually get more through ad revenue and Prime subscriptions, so that's all right. But then they also explain that essentially it's really expensive to run a streaming platform, so that's why we're not actually rolling that out to the 70-30 community, which, honestly, they have some balls to admit that they honestly could just let this slide underneath the rug. Small streamers would have been complaining about this for the end of time, but, hey, they could have just weathered that out. Doing it like this, publicly displaying your opinion about it? Oh. So essentially, there is going to be no 70-30 split for any new content creators, especially those who even make it up to the ranks. So even if you manage to get much higher up in the ranks and start raking in some serious dough, Twitch will not allow you to renegotiate your contract for a higher revenue split, which, wow, that's impressive. And does the reasoning make sense? I mean, yes, streaming platforms themselves are incredibly expensive to actually make a profit from. Historically, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, and any other platform, especially all those defunct ones like, vid.me or whatever else was called, trying to actually run a video streaming and video sharing platform is incredibly expensive. Video files are not small, and transmitting data through servers and all the related infrastructure is hella expensive, especially as they point out here. So I can kind of see why they'd want to do that if their profits are very slim to maybe even negative. But at the same time, they are leveraging Amazon and Amazon Web Services, so they necessarily wouldn't have to take on the entire burden and paying the extra margin to Amazon Web Services. They could actually just pocket that and, utilize the data for something else. But the thing is that we don't actually know what their profits is. We can go online and search, up and down for articles that say, hey, their profit, or I shouldn't say profit, their gross revenue for this year is this. Their gross revenue for this is this year. But we don't actually know what their expenses are. For as much money as they're making right now, they could easily be washing that all away with advertising, contracts, and just maintenance fees for all the various servers here. So I don't want to dismiss Twitch's explanation entirely outright. It may be valid. they just really haven't given us any way to actually verify it here. And not to mention, too, that the community has been asking for a 70-30 split that top earners have been making for a very long time. And just denying it to your top earners and denying it to the rest of everyone else blanketly, I mean, it just kind of signals that you're not really trying to, like, uplift people here, and you're not really trying your best to retain talent. I mean, if people here are going to be, spending 8-10 hours a day doing streaming and then all the related activities from emailing, networking, generating with their editor, and things like that, I mean, you're not necessarily helping these people out. And God forbid, any one of you people here are actually completely reliant on this 100%, it's going to be a bad day for certain. Because that basically means you have basically nothing to work for at that point, except for, climbing the ladder. You won't get any sort of contract renegotiation. Now, personally, you may be asking yourself, well, how does it relate to you at all? You're just a tiny-ass streamer who doesn't even stream anymore, and that's true. Yes, and honestly, it's not related to this specifically, and it's not going to affect someone like me. I'm a very small content creator here. I barely have made any money from Twitch. In fact, the majority of my money has come through donations and subscriptions to Twitch, oddly enough, despite them not making that much of my actual money base there. But that's just to show you how little Twitch actually gives you in terms of revenue. That honestly, YouTube is a huge benefit over it, because there's just so much more exposure and opportunity to actually grow on there. And not this for this to be an advertisement for YouTube, but more or less just to be a message saying, hey, diversify your content here, exclusively relying on Twitch, especially when Twitch is a huge market share and propensity to not be in the consumer's interest 100% of the time. It is just a huge risk to just sit here and rely exclusively on that. Go on YouTube, go on Facebook, go on TikTok, go on any other platform and just try to make as many variations of the same content but post it to there. That'll generally lead you to better success, at least from what I understand. Maybe you'll be like me and you actually have more success actually making videos on YouTube and streaming to both platforms, which I think is going to be a more common thing going, now on, where people are actually going to be duo streaming to YouTube and to Twitch in defiance of contract obligations. Because technically, as an affiliate, even myself, I've looked through the contract and I actually do have an exclusivity agreement where when I'm streaming to Twitch, I cannot utilize that stream to other platforms as well. So I can't stream to Facebook, I can't stream to YouTube, and I can't stream to whatever other website. I could only stream to Twitch while I am streaming, but that's what most people tend to actually defy, and Lioness actually managed to get out of that contract early on in the days. But that is what is probably going to happen in the future, really. Not to mention, too, that generally you can actually go ahead and archive streams on YouTube forever without really any cost or having to do anything, offloaded eventually later on. So actually, in that regard, it actually can serve as a big backlog catalog that you don't have to have a huge data server for yourself, which is honestly kind of baller. But Twitch, man, you done messed up here. This is a huge optics L for you. You should know the community has been fervent about this for ages, and sitting here and kicking the bee's hive is not a great way to build up goodwill, especially after doing so well with getting rid of gambling content here. Now, the only way they could really make this better too, besides going back on that, is maybe if they were going to announce something like this, they would also announce features or, address long-standing complaints such as the sort of nature of bans being not really uniform and standardized, and how, every person can potentially get a 3-day ban or a 30-day ban depending on whoever they get there. Maybe that one thing could be helpful, or maybe more tools to address copyright infringement on the website so you don't get taken down as much and disrupt a huge source of income. Things like that too would also be beneficial, but that would also be expensive, and that would also indicate that Twitch has a absolute huge passion for the creators, which I necessarily am not getting that feeling nowadays. But you know what? Let me know what you guys think about this. Is this a good feature for Twitch to actually roll out? What are the positives? What are the benefits of this? What are the negatives of it? Leave your comments down below, and we'll debate it. And by debate it, I will probably just sling mud at each other. Why not? It sounds like fun. But beyond that, guys, I want to thank you all for joining this evening, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.